Vishwasya Rupaso Bhaktivartma Pradarshana Bhakti Chakre Vartitatvat Chakravartyakyaye Bhavet Hridva Prenava Bhakti Shasya Vitate Sanjivani Swagama Rambe Kamata Partudahadamani Vishwapagolasini Duran Me Marusha Kinopi Sarasi Valaya Bhuyat Prabhu Shri Chaitanya Kripa Nirankushama Madhurya Kadambini Shri Chaitanya Kripa Nirankushama Madhurya Kadambini. Bhakti Purva Shritatam Tu Rasam Pashyet Yadattadi Tam Nomi Satatam Rupa Nama Priya Janam Hare. Hare Krishna. So, I'm studying Madhurya Kadambini, and the goal of our study is Sri Chaitanya Prabhu Kripa Nirankusha Madhurya Kadambini, to attract towards us the causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya, so that our dry heart, which is growing in the desert of this material world, would become again full of life. Now our heart is very dry, and the emotions which we experience are also very meager. It's actually the emotions of stress. Anger, stress, irritation, dissatisfaction, anxiety, fear. These are all emotions which we are mostly capable of experiencing, and elevated emotions. What to speak about spiritual emotions, even the emotions of which belong to the realm of sattva, are very difficult to attain. The emotion of gratitude, the emotion of humility, the emotion of compassion. These are sattvic emotions, but they're very elevated emotions, and in our normal state of life, normal quote unquote, we don't experience them. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what to speak about prema, pranaya, and sneha, mana, raga, anuraga. So even the sattvic emotions are not easy because of the predominance of rajas and tamas within our consciousness and the environment which we live in. And therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wrote this book for us to give us the way towards these emotions. When our heart will become again enlivened by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, yesterday I finished by describing Shraddha, which is an important part of the second chapter of Madhurya Kadambini. I still want to say a few words about this because it's so important and it is directly connected with the topic which we are about to commence, but having difficulty to commence because we are too much dwelling in the past. So, it directly related to the Anarthas. So let's again go back a little bit to what is Shastriya Shraddha. I told that there is material Shraddha or conditioned Shraddha. And it's so important, this topic is so important that Sri Krishna devoted the whole chapter, the whole Adhyaya, 17th Adhyaya, to describe these three kinds of Shraddha in the modes of material nature. And there, this important verse in the very beginning of this 17th chapter, Sattva Anurupa Sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata. Sattva Anurupa. Here Sattva doesn't mean Sattva Gun, although it may mean Sattva Gun. Srila Prabhupada alludes to this in the purport, but primarily Sattva here means mind. Mind is also called Sattva because it's creation of Sattva Gun, or it's Antahkarana, you may say. Sattva Anurupa Sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata. So our Shraddha follows its Anurupa, our Sattva. Whatever is there within our mind, whatever karma we have, whatever value system we have, our Shraddha, our face, whatever we have in our mind, whatever karma we have, our Shraddha or value system. This is another very important understanding of what Shraddha means. Shraddha means what we hold sacred or what we hold valuable. So it's basically value system. When we believe in God, it means that we value the supreme power which is ruling everything. When we believe in some powerful man, it means that this is on the top of our value system. If we worship some ghost or demons to fulfill our desires, it also reveals what we hold sacred or what we hold valuable. So Sattvanurupa Sarvasya, our Shraddha depends on our Sattva or our mind. And then next, Shraddhamaya Ayam Purusho, Ayam Purusha, this Purusha or living entity, conditioned living entity, is made of Shraddha. Yayat Shraddha Saeva Saha. And he becomes the same as his Shraddha. So our Shraddha depends on our mind, and we, in other words, our way of living, our speaking, our acting, it all basically derived from Shraddha. So this very intricate and tight connection, bondage between Shraddha and our, the form of our Shraddha, conditioned Shraddha, and our karma or existence is indicated in this verse. And Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a beautiful purport. This is an excerpt from this purport. When one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature in conditional life, he generates his own position by association with different varieties of material nature. So we ourselves generate our own position, the resultant artificial phase. He calls material or conditioned phase artificial phase because it's false ultimately. The resultant artificial phase and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life originally, he is nirguna or transcendental, therefore one has to become cleansed of all material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada excerpt, Srila Prabhupada speaks about artificial Shraddha, false Shraddha, conditioned Shraddha, which is imposed upon us by our association with the modes of nature, and the real Shraddha, spiritual Shraddha, which is supposed to bring us back and re-establish our spiritual relationship with our source. So, and basically when Krishna says, Yoyat Shraddha Saeva Saha, if we understand that Shraddha means something which we revere or which we worship, so we are what we worship. And if we change the object of our worship due to the association with sadhus, if by saintly association we understand who is the real object of our worship, we change our existence. Everything is changed by this change of the object of our worship. So Shraddha is this reverential attitude towards something which we hold sacred or valuable. And therefore, in Bhakti Sandarbha, I made a mistake yesterday. I said that this is the quote from Madhurya Kadambini. No, this is the quote from Bhakti Sandarbha. Srila Jiva Goswami says the same thing. He says, in this verses, Shraddha and Bhakti, these two words, means adara, respect. So, and why do we need respect? This is a very important topic of today's discussion, because offenses which we are hopefully starting to describe today is the opposite of respect. So, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Satu Bhagavat Tosha Lakshana Pala Vishesha Yot Pattau Anadara Lakshana Tat Vigna Vignataka Aparadhasya Vignataka Aparadhasya Nirashana Paraha. So he says that this respect which we get when we receive Shraddha by meeting with the devotees destroys the offensive attitude, aparadha, which produces disrespect, and when this offensive attitude of ours is destroyed, then we get the fruit of satisfaction of the Lord. The moment we become reverential, we get this very valuable fruit or result that the Lord becomes pleased with us. And when the Lord becomes pleased with us, what else do we need? If the Lord is pleased, everything is there. If the Lord is displeased, what do we need? We don't need anything because we're doomed. So that's the only thing, and therefore Shraddha is so extremely important. And therefore I said that actually this spiritual Shraddha, the inner desire of us to understand the truth, which brings us into the association with saintly people, with sadhus. Because we want to understand the truth, we come, we're seeking for some saintly association, and in this association, if we are respectful towards those saintly people, then Shraddha develops, and it gives us tonic. It becomes rasayana, it gives us strength, it gives us the immunity to resist all the unwanted influences, and ultimately it rejuvenates our whole being. So this we all did yesterday, and I said yesterday I skipped this, but I think it's important to repeat again. That Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Shraddha has two aspects. One aspect, Shastriya Shraddha has two aspects. One aspect is belief in Shastra, and another aspect is belief in the way which is indicated by Shastra. Two very important aspects of Shraddha. If you only say believe in Shastra and do nothing, it means you have no Shraddha, zero Shraddha. If you claim or that you have Shraddha. It means that you will have to act according to this Shraddha. So the first aspect, quote-unquote theoretical belief in Shastra, is indicated how we should check ourselves, whether we have Shraddha or not, Shraddha in Shastra. So the first feeling which we should notice within our heart is this kind of feeling that if I don't worship the Lord, I feel that my life is wasted. If we get this feeling, that means we have Shastriya Shraddha. It's like, it's also one of my very favorite experiences. I once was talking with two young devotees, two ladies who are twin sisters. And they told me the same sort of experience. They told me that many times we tried to give up this path of bhakti. We started chanting and everything is nice, but then, we had some other priorities, this and that, we become busy, and we give up chanting, and they say immediately, and not immediately, 1 day is okay, 2 days is okay, 3 days is a little strange, and then they say that some strange anxiety comes to our heart, that something is wrong, and this anxiety is just, it's there. And we don't know the cause of this anxiety, the anxiety in there. And then we start chanting again, and the anxiety disappears. So this is the feeling when we have little Shastriya Shraddha. It basically means that within the heart we feel, if I don't worship the Lord, I just waste my time. I'm living like a mouse. I'm just eating and sleeping and then dying. This is the essence of material life. Well, there are some other fun experiences too, but ultimately the most fun is dying. Eating, sleeping, and then dying. So this feeling should be there. This is the first sign of Shastriya Shraddha. Yes, there is higher purpose of my existence. And then another sign of this is the hope. Hope that I will encounter this beautiful Lord who is embellished by all different beautiful qualities, like compassion, mercy, beauty. So, and this hope overshadows our desires to enjoy senses. Our taste for sense enjoyment become less. We still love pizza, but not so intensely. Or ice cream. But basically, it doesn't become the important part of our life. Yes, of course, it's nice if it's there, but I can live without it. But I cannot live without God. So, because we understand it's temporary. Everything else is temporary, whereas I need something permanent in my life, and the only permanent experience which I can have is the experience of association with God. And ultimately, the life without worship becomes intolerable, and surrender to Krishna becomes very natural. So this is one aspect. Tat Shastra Arthi Dridha Pratyaya Mai. Something which reveals our conviction in the meaning of Shastra. The meaning of Shastra is that God is there, and He is beautiful, He is merciful, and what reveals our conviction is this attitude within the heart. And the second aspect is that desire to attentively follow the process of devotion. Sadhara spriha, not just follow the process of devotion, but to follow it with reverence. Sa adhara spriha, the desire to follow the path of devotion prescribed in the scriptures, combined with the hope for achieving the goal they describe. So this is another manifestation of Shraddha. I get this desire to really carefully, attentively follow the path described in the scriptures. And because I believe in scriptures. And to achieve this, we apply concentrated endeavors. Yatna eka nidana rupa. We become very fixed in our practice of devotional service. So this is the second aspect which should follow. Anyway, so I gave this very important recipe of Shastriya Shraddha. So first, the beginning of Shraddha is respect. Respect to those who have bhakti. Without this, nothing can happen. Respect makes us very attentive when we hear such person. You all know, if you don't respect somebody, you hear him and you know, oh, this guy, oh my goodness. You know, what is he saying? And anyway, you know. And we think about something else. So without respect, we cannot even hear properly. We cannot even understand properly the Shastra. Respect is necessary to fix our attention because, you know, we all know, we all, you know, studied. If we respect the teacher, we hear him. If we don't respect the teacher, you know, we just mock at him. The students are sitting somewhere back and just mocking at the professor who is trying to teach them. That's not the way to obtain Shastriya Shraddha. First respect, then attentive hearing, and not only attentive hearing, but systematic hearing. As I explained yesterday, from beginning to end, to Upakrama, Upasama. We try to understand the meaning, to extract the meaning of what is being said. Because again, the tendency of inattentive hearing is to hear something there. In the meantime, we thought about something else, about some engagement which I have, or about some quarrel which I have, some unpleasant things. And we lose the meaning. Oftentimes, you know, somebody asks the question and you understand that you didn't understand what you wanted to say. So it's important to kind of really follow and to try to get the essential message. And then we should ask the questions to remove doubts if we have. You know, please explain to me how Putana grew so high. Whatever else is there. And then the firm faith will be formed in the meaning of Shastra. And then, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, then the surrender becomes very natural. Because what is surrender? Surrender means we accept the meaning of the Shastra and we want to follow Shastra. Anukulyasya sankalpah praktikulyasya varjanam. I will do whatever Krishna says I should do, and I should not do whatever he doesn't want me to do. So that Sharanagati becomes natural. If we try to do Sharanagati without the previous thing, it will become very artificial and not real. Sharanagati is based on a very firm foundation of Shastric knowledge. Then only we can follow this path, and then we can start acting with a very strong hope. I will achieve this, not in the next life, like Srila Prabhupada used to say, don't become next lifetime Baba. Don't try to postpone it. Okay, this life didn't work, next life maybe, okay. I will get a better birth. No, next life will happen the same thing. Because the same attitude you will carry, the same neglect, the same thing you will carry with you. So therefore, this is the recipe, this is the path, this is how to strengthen our Shastriya Shraddha. That's the formula of it. And just very quickly about these two types of Shraddha, that Balatutpadita Shraddha or Lokika Shraddha. Lokika basically means forced, external, conventional faith, without internal conviction, coming from the customs of the society we live in, faith without freedom. Why it is called Balatutpadita? Because people, there are so many people who follow this. Sometimes children follow the path of bhakti. It's not that they want to follow the path of bhakti, but they know that if they're obedient, they will get some benefits from their parents. So in a similar way, we are dependent on the opinions of others. Like children, little children, they're dependent on the opinion of their parents because they don't want to be rejected. And they know that parents, somehow or other, parents are very strange creatures. They're sitting and mumbling something, so maybe I should do the same to get some extra mileage. But in a similar way, we are dependent on the opinion of other people. We are living in a society, and to conform with the customs of the society, we sometimes adopt certain external behavior which is not based on our internal conviction. But when we do this, we don't feel that we are doing it according to our free will. That's a very important difference between these two kinds of Shraddha. So, how to recognize this Balatutpadita Shraddha or forced Shraddha, conventional Shraddha, Shraddha which is based on some external influences. So, oftentimes, and the sign of this forced Shraddha is extreme fanaticism. This is the only right thing, everyone else is just, if he doesn't do what I am doing, he's a demon and I have to convert everyone else. Instead of trying to convert oneself, he is trying to convert his relatives. You know, it's a very common phenomenon. A neophyte devotee, he got some bright idea that he should worship Krishna, and then the first thing which he should do, which he is doing, just to save his relatives. Let me save them. You know, please try to save yourself first. So this impetus trying to convert everyone else into the right path is a sign of very forced faith. I remember I was in the year 2000. I was part of Hindu delegation to the Summit of Religions. And, you know, there were many people from many different, it was in the United Nations, many different people came, and everyone was talking a little bit, very politely. And then one lady, she's the daughter of very famous tele-preacher, Protestant preacher. She comes up on the dais, and she speaks 2 sentences, and then all of a sudden she starts yelling, "Just believe in Jesus, otherwise you will go to hell." This is the sign of forced Shraddha. Because you feel the force, the pressure yourself, and you want to apply the same pressure to everyone else. That's how it works psychologically. So this kind of self-righteous attitude is one of the signs. And then it's usually based on some superstitions in all these forms of conventional Shraddha. The superstitions are more important than scriptural knowledge. All kinds of strange traditions which are not based on Shastra, they appear gradually. We all know the tale of the cat, black cat in a basket, which has to be there while you're doing puja. So all kinds of different things, they appear. It's based on superstition, and it breeds superstitions. It breeds some new rituals, and that's very much dependent on the miracles. You know, if you don't have real Shastriya Shraddha, then you need miracles to be convinced. You know, if somebody doesn't perform miracles, he's not bona fide. I need to find some miracle maker, another miracle maker. So that's why all this Sai Baba followers, you know, and they all, this is the talk, this is Harikatha, miracle Katha. Just, you know, oh, he performed this miracle and that miracle. And if one day miracle is not performed, you should invent the miracle. You know, you should somehow or other concoct the miracle. And then also there are some concocted practices which are not really approved by Shastras. Severe fasting or severe austerity, it's also a result of this. And then it's usually very shallow, it's unstable, and it's usually centered around a person. Personality cult, this cultish sort of mentality is a very prominent sign of this Balatutpadita Shraddha. You need to believe into somebody because you don't have inner conviction and the basis in the Shastra. And that's why you artificially inflate some person and place all your faith into this person. And this whole foundation of this is this relationship with inflated figure, which more or less your own creation. So that's Balatutpadita Shraddha. And this cultish mentality is very much there. Even in ISKCON, you know, there are different cults. They periodically pop out of nothing. But it's all lack of Shastriya Shraddha. You don't need this. If you have firm Shastriya Shraddha, you don't need all this stuff. You're just happy and you're respectful to everyone, but you're not cultish. And Svabhaviki Shraddha is completely different. Svabhaviki means natural, spontaneous, and it's Shastriya Shraddha according to the nomenclature of Srila Jiva Goswami. It's based on Shastra, internal conviction, and it's not dependent on miracles and gives the stability. Okay, that's Sadhu Sangha. More or less, there is not much to say about this. It's just one sentence which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives in Madhurya Kadambini. He says that real Shraddha brings us into the association with real sadhus. And this association is based on heart-to-heart relationship with them. It always has snigdha, sneha. The real Shraddha brings us into close association with sadhus, and we inquire from him, ask questions from him, and that's basically this. And we ask him what to do And he says us what to do, and we start Bhajana Kriya. And then Bhajana Kriya has 6 unstable varieties. Utsahamai, Ganatarala, Vyuda Vikalpa, Vishaya Sangara, Niyama Akshama, and Tarangarangini. So we all know this, you probably heard about this. I will not dwell on this. Because initially our mind is not stable. We cannot really completely apply our mind to the practice of bhakti. While we're hearing Shravana, or while we are chanting Kirtana, or what to speak while we are remembering, the flow of devotional activity is often interrupted by different desires and thoughts which are still there. And therefore, it has to be unstable in the beginning. But instability takes different forms. In the beginning, it becomes very fanatical. This is the first manifestation of instability of mind, fanatical devotee. Or another name for this, synonym for this, is the syndrome of a pure devotee. In the beginning, everyone is a pure devotee. Later on, he comes back to reality. But in the beginning, you're full of enthusiasm, but this is false enthusiasm. This is not real enthusiasm. Utsahamai. And then you become very much dependent on the external circumstances and mechanical. You do sadhana in a very ritualistic way, and it doesn't really give you satisfaction. Sometimes it does when somebody is kind of giving some flattery to you and says, "Oh, you're such a nice devotee. Wow, my goodness." And immediately, yes. Bhakti is the real path. But as soon as somebody is not really happy with us, well, we're not very happy with this path of bhakti. I thought the path of bhakti is so nice, but it's not. So, and then we become undecisive, we become wavering, whether I should do this or not, whether I should remain brahmachari or become the grihastha. No, in the beginning I should remain brahmachari, and then, I'm too old already to become grihastha. What shall I do? Like sometimes people say, I gave my best years to Krishna consciousness. So, and my answer to this, why don't you give your worst years too? What do you lose? So this kind of wavering, whether I should do this or should not do this, he gives this example about marriage or not marriage, but there are so many different examples which are there. Which service I should do? Should I distribute books, or should I do this, or should I do that? Again, this is Vyuda Vikalpa, this intense speculation of what to do without real determination. And then Vishaya Sangara, when you start fighting with the senses, and every now and then break the principles. And then you give some exaggerated vows, and you cannot follow these vows. This is the 5th one. And then ultimately, Tarangarangini, you become senior devotee. That's the best out of them. Everyone respects you, everyone bows down, and you have the full plate of prasadam, and I always knew that the path of bhakti is very nice. This is not the path of bhakti, this is the path of prasadam. So, when you just enjoy the perks which you gained by remaining in Krishna consciousness for too long, but still you have some unresolved doubts, some perhaps some unfulfilled desires. They are still internally slackening, weakening the foundation of your bhakti. So this is the second chapter of Madhurya Kadambini, and we are coming to the third chapter of this book, Tritiya Amrita Vrishti, the third shower of Amrita. The third installment of Krishna's mercy. If despite of all these instabilities we still follow the path of bhakti, we will find out that anarthas will start vanishing. So this chapter discusses this Anartha Nivritti, or cessation of unwanted desires. And the very word anartha means something which is anartha, which is something which is unwanted, or something which is without value. Anartha, something which is useless. And Nivritti means to cease, to eradicate, and to free. Very important point that anarthas are opposed to paramartha. There is a highest value, paramartha, the highest possible value which is there, which we can achieve by following bhakti. And anarthas is something which is diametrically opposed to paramartha. And therefore, they have to be removed for us to achieve. They become the obstacles on our path. They become the vignas. And every one of us has obstacles. Everyone has obstacles, and Srila Prabhupada explains why these obstacles are there. It's a very beautiful explanation in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment. For a pure devotee, nothing is an astonishment. He understands very clearly the reality. Because every living being is associated with such things from a remote time, practically immemorial, and it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. Nashta prayeshva badrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya. So all this abhadra, what is abhadra? This is another synonym of anartha. Abhadra, which is something which is disturbing our mind. Like Srila Prabhupada says, pinprick, which is there. And Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Antaraya nahiyaya, eita paramabhaya, nivedana karana nuksan. He says, my greatest fear is that I will not be able to surpass the impediments on the path of devotional service. Antaraya means anartha, or impediments, vigna. Nahiyaya, nahijaya, eita paramabhaya. So this is, we should expect that the obstacles will be there. We should be very, very sober about this. There will be obstacles on our path of devotional service. Kalach kalir balina indriya vairi varga, Sri Bhakti marga iha kantaka koti ruda. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says that the path of bhakti, Sri Bhakti marga iha kantaka koti ruda. There is a lot of kantakas, there is a lot of thorns on the path of bhakti. And Srila Rupa Goswami explains that the obstacles, internal obstacles, The external obstacles is just the manifestation of internal obstacles. Ultimately, the internal obstacles is what matters. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that up to the level of bhava, including bhava, he says even on the level of bhava, one has some shadows of obstacles. Only in the level of prema you're completely free from this. But what to speak about us sadhakas? So Narottam Das Thakur says, Antaraya nahi jaya, this is my fear, paramabhai. I'm very afraid that I will not be able to overcome these obstacles which lead to this paramartha, to the highest achievement of human life. And therefore, what should I do? Nivedana karon anukshana. All the time, every moment, I pray to the Lord to remove these obstacles. I pray not to remove, I pray to give me the strength to overcome these obstacles. Hence, I pray to you constantly, anukshan. Every second, nivedan karan anukshana. So it basically means that we should not be negligent, or we should not be overly confident. Srila Prabhupada said in Krishna Balaram Mandir, somebody asked, Srila Prabhupada was praying to the deities, and somebody asked him, what are you praying for? He said, I am praying for not to fall in Maya. And he said, this is the difference between me and you. You're not afraid of falling in Maya, and I am. So this is to make us careful. Because, again, the tendency, unfortunately, is there to become little negligent. And from the very beginning, it's very interesting. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur classifies anarthas according to their origin. Duskritotha, anarthas which are coming from Duskriti utha. Sukritotha, aparadhotha, and bhakti utha. So anarthas which are coming from Duskriti, from sinful activities, anarthas which are coming from Sukriti, pious activities, very nice anarthas. And anarthas which are coming from aparada, and anarthas which are coming from practicing bhakti. So the question is, very important question, why does he classify anarthas this way? Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives completely different classification of anarthas. He lists 16 anarthas according to the nature of anarthas. The anarthas of Brahma, of the mistakes, and anarthas of the weaknesses of the heart, and the petty desires which are there. So it would be much more natural, isn't it, to classify anarthas according to the nature of desires which we have. So why does he give this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this classification of anarthas? Very important answer. What do you think? Huh? Yes, okay. Okay.
The some can be removed more quickly and easily, and some
Yeah.
remain
Yeah.
longer.
Basically, the answer to this very important question which we should ask ourselves is that it doesn't matter what kind of anarthas we have specifically, because anyway the method of removing anartha is only one. Anarthas are many, but the method is only one. It doesn't matter whether you have lust or anger or greed or illusion or pride or even envy, and basically you all have this, no problem. So in other methods, why I'm saying this? Because if you take psychology and you go to psychologist and you tell psychologist, dear psychologist, my dear Guruji, please tell me how to get rid of anger. And psychologist will tell you how to get rid of anger. And even if he will not be able to free you from anger, he will free you from the guilt of being angry. So that's what psychologists are for. So no problem. You're angry, so it happens. No problem. Just be yourself. But they will give you specific recipe against specific anartha. But because we're dealing with bhakti, and bhakti is a universal recipe, which is against all kinds of anarthas, that the only factor which is important in this regard is how quickly anarthas will go by the process of bhakti. Ultimately, all the anarthas will be removed just by the process of bhakti itself, like Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, which we just quoted. But the speed with which and the depths of the anartha is different. And therefore, even though we apply the same universal method to remove these anarthas, they go away with a different speed. And that's what important. He's talking about the path, and on the path it is important when we will be free from all the anarthas, and therefore we have to see the origin of these anarthas. And this is the proof of this. This is the verse from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 15th chapter. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing mode of goodness. And before that, there was different partial remedies for different problems which we have. And then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. All this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. So, again, the faith and devotion is the remedy of all the problems, and therefore Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this classification, and the most important part which we will talk today is these aparadas which are, anarthas, which are created by offenses. So he very quickly deals with the first type of anarthas, duskritota. He says, basically we already explained what is duskritota. What is duskriti? Duskriti, or impious activities, this is activities which are performed under the influence of bodily concept of life. I am this body. And when you act under this influence from this dehatma buddhi, from this understanding I am this body, then you will strengthen your avidya, smita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. You basically will strengthen your ignorance, your false ego, your attachment, your hatred, and your fear of death. That's what duskriti means. And that's why sinful activities are so bad. Why all the religions, they condemn sinful activities because they strengthen our avidya, ignorance. They deprive us the proper knowledge and understanding of reality, and ultimately the problem with avidya is that it's self, how you call it? Yeah, it's a cycle. It's self-reinforcing. It's reinforcing itself. Avidya pushes you to act, and the action which you do impelled by avidya will only engross your avidya, will only strengthen your avidya. So if you act being impelled by your attachments, the attachments will become what? Stronger. And you will again act. This is the vicious cycle, like the cycle of addiction. You try to some drug once, and you get some experience, and then you try twice, and then you try thrice, and then you cannot stop trying it. And then you're enslaved. So that's the problem with sins. Sins, dushkriti, impious activity, enslave us. We become the slaves of this activity. We are forced to repeat them again and again and again and again. And we cannot really, it's very difficult to break this vicious cycle. So, and that's why all the scriptures, they condemn sinful activities. They differently classify them. They say, thou shalt not kill, and so on and so forth. But basically the idea is that it is the path of bondage. The path of sinful activity is the path of bondage, and we want freedom. And we should clearly understand what is the path, how we can really achieve freedom. So avidya is gross ignorance, the bodily concept of life, and asmita is false ego, material conception of I and mine. Raga is attachment to those things which bring us pleasure. Dvesha is aversion to those things which brings us miseries or sufferings. And abhinivesha is absorption into matter which causes fear of death. So that's welcome to the material world. So that's a beautiful place where electricity always breaks, and other supplies of. So if we differently formulate the same problems which we have, then avidya will become the sum total of all samskaras, all accumulated karma. Prarabdha karma, aprarabdha karma, sanchari karma, all kinds of karmas which are there. That's avidya. It's the cloud which covers our real knowledge, distorts our knowledge. Avidya is the distorted knowledge, distorted understanding. And then asmita, it's specifically prarabdha karma. It's vasanas, very deep samskaras, which we brought from previous life. And they constitute our personality. Everyone has unique personality. Somebody has Mars in the first house, and he is very angry and irritated. Somebody has Mars in the second house, somebody in the third house, and so on and so forth. So it's vasanas, asmita, my false identity, which is created by repeated actions in the previous life. Not just incidental actions, but repeated, consistent actions which we do while working on our personality. according to the false ego, this screen just wants to manifest his freedom and independence. So he doesn't want to surrender. That betrays the lack of Shastriya Shraddha. But anyway, no problem. What can we do? And raga, it's little more superficial. Avidya is the deepest one. Avidya constitutes all our consciousness, subconscious mind. Asmita of false ego, it's our conscious mind. I am this, and I enjoy what I have. And raga is basically, raga and dvesha is two programs which are there in the manas. I like this, I don't like this. So, and then abhinivesha is basically this intelligence. The intelligence which is fearing that we will lose control at the moment of death and this and that. So that's how you can classify this according to manas and intelligence and false ego. And then avidya is the sum total of chitta. So if we take these four familiar to us elements of antahkarana, internal sense organ, then avidya corresponds to chitta, asmita to, of course, ahankara, raga and dvesha. It's a description of functions of our mind, which is rejecting and accepting, and abhinivesha is the function of intelligence, which always makes plans and ultimately is fearful of death. So what happens when we have these strong elements within our subtle body, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha, when we have these five in our subtle body, then they create the desires for sense enjoyment in our heart, and they also create sinful tendencies which we have. Tendencies for illicit sex, tendencies for violence, tendencies for lying, speaking untruths, tendencies to eat forbidden food. And when we try to do bhakti, then all these desires created by this duskriti disturb our mind. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We try to concentrate, but this instability which is created by our previous karma, by the impious element of previous karma. What shall we do?
Escape, press escape, come out of the vibhuti, and then...
Yes, I pressed escape. It came out.
It's showing your laptop, but not showing the PPT.
Yeah.
Well, someone needs to do a miracle, otherwise.
Reboot what?
They already rebooted it. They rebooted it.
Yes, just hold for some time. Should work. Connect it after that.
Okay. Anyway, so let's go further. So that's why this is anarthas. Anarthas are there, and anarthas is disturbance in the mind, And because of this disturbance in the mind, we cannot really perform bhakti. And we all know this, how it works. The moment we start, sometimes devotees says, this is, I like chanting because the best ideas I get when I chant. It basically means that I'm doing all my plans during the chanting period instead of really saying something important or trying to please Krishna by my chanting. As I said, when we have strong Shraddha, then whatever we do for the pleasure of Krishna, not for our own pleasure. So that's why this kind of anarthas. Okay. Okay. And anarthas which are arising from pious activities, sukritotha anarthas. And sometimes people say that they're the same. Raga dvesha is definitely there. But more specifically, the pious activities create three kinds of anarthas. Desire for heavenly pleasures. I will be rewarded. I'm so good. For sure, I will be one of the chosen ones in heaven. Or desire for liberation. Desire for liberation is also a result of pious activities. I perform pious activities, and ultimately I hope that I will be liberated from all this material existence. And desire for mystic powers, sometimes people perform pious activities, and this desire for mystic powers become very strong. So this is also distraction. Distraction from the goal, because the definition of pure bhakti is that, uttama bhakti is that you perform it only for the pleasure of Krishna. And because you're performing it with the wrong idea, with the wrong desire, then you don't feel the pleasure of bhakti. It is very beautifully described in the verse, which was the controversial verse according to some accounts of Srila Jiva Goswami's life, when he was trying to defeat the Pandit who came to argue with Srila Jiva Goswami. So, bhukti mukti spriha yavat pishachi hridi vartate. Srila Rupa Goswami says that in our heart there are two pishachis, two witches. It's a very strong word. There are two blood-sucking pishachis living within the heart of a living entity. And this is bhukti and mukti spriha. According to this story, the Pandit was arguing with Srila Rupa Goswami. He said, how you can call bhukti and mukti, especially mukti, as a pishachi? How you can call mukti, who is the, Mukti Devi, who is being worshipped by the millions of pious people in Bharat, a pishachi? It's a mahaparad. Mukti Devi, you call pishachi? What is going on? But then Srila Jiva Goswami says, no, it's not Mukti Devi is pishachi, Mukti Spriha is pishachi. The desire for mukti, the desire for bhukti is pishachi. Why it is blood-sucking? Because it tavad bhakti sukasyartha katham abhyudayo bhavet. How then you will experience the happiness of bhakti if you're deprived, if your practice of bhakti is deprived of a proper intensity. You don't have the proper goal of your practice. You're not applying your mind there to the practice. You don't want to please by this practice the Supreme Lord, but ultimately you want bhukti and mukti. Recently, somebody told me a story that it's a far-out story, one of many which I heard being in ISKCON, that somebody experienced some difficulties. One lady, her husband gave her up, drove her away, and she was deprived of anything, and then she was kicked out of job, and she was suffering. And then she met with one devotee preacher, and devotee told her, just repeat all the time, "Oh my Lord, whatever you want, let it be. Oh my Lord, whatever you want, let it be, let it be, let it be." So because she was so desperate, she started repeating this mantra, "Oh my Lord, whatever you want, let it be, let it be, let it be." And then this preacher himself tells, miraculously, her husband wanted her back, and she found a new job where she gets a lot of salary, but she doesn't have to do anything, and everything removed, and now she with full conviction says, "Oh my dear Lord, whatever you want, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be." So this is a little tricky mentality. You do not want the Lord, you do not want His will, you do not, but you want what you want. You basically want what you want bhukti and mukti. And it's maybe okay for the beginning, but ultimately you have to understand that the real happiness, because when we desire the happiness of the Lord, when our all consciousness is there in the Lord, through the media of our connection with Him, through the media of bhakti, our consciousness becomes in Him. And can you imagine what happens when our consciousness in the Lord, who is the bliss personified? Our consciousness becomes blissful automatically. We become completely, totally blissful because we are connected with Him, and we are thinking about Him, not about our petty little desires. How you can be happy if you only think about your petty desires? Can you be happy? No, you cannot. You will be miserable. So, and that's exactly what Srila Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on this. And therefore, this three kind of disturbances in mind created by pious activities are also not good. And that's a very important distinction between Gaudiya Sampradaya and every other, practically every other religion. Because in other religions, what you hear, don't perform sin, perform pious activities. And in Gaudiya Sampradaya, we say, don't perform sin, don't perform pious activities. It's equally disturbing. If not more disturbing, it's equally distracting from the path of bhakti. It's not beneficial for path of bhakti. If you are just pious person and you are giving alms on Ekadashi, this is ultimately not good. But of course, the temptation is very great. Like you want to be pious, and on Amavasya you should go to Goshala and you should donate some money to Goshala, and you should do something for your diseased relatives. That's all fine, but it has very little to do with bhakti. If you want to worship cows, why should you do it only on Amavasya? You worship cows because they're connected with Krishna, because Krishna likes them. Not that, Krishna likes them only on Amavasya days. He likes them every day. And you should do something for them. So that's a very important distinction between our tradition of pure bhakti and other traditions of mixed bhakti. So now next, the most important section of this third chapter of Madhurya Kadambini is aparadhota anarthas. Anarthas which are created by aparadas. And we will devote a lot of time in deliberating what aparada means and why and how we should avoid them. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, aparadota anarthas which arise from offenses refer to those arising from nama apparatus, not seva apparatus, such as entering the temple in the palanquin or with shoes. The acharyas have discerned that seva apparatus do not usually have effect, being nullified by chanting the name by recitation of stotras which have the power to cancel the effect of any seva parada and by constant service. So basically in the very beginning he says, when we're talking about aparada, we're talking about nama aparada. There are so many other apparadas, but other apparadas are not so dangerous. They don't leave lasting impression. Seva apparadas are basically nullified in the process of devotional service, which implies chanting after every puja you have to chant these mantras, aparada sahasrani, and all these mantras which you're supposed to chant. Please forgive me from these apparadas. And Krishna says, no problem. So, of course, there are different other means to be free from seva apparatus. One of them is chanting stotras, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions this. And this is like Vishnu Sahasranam. It is said that recently I heard somebody was explaining Vishnu Sahasranam, and they say that Vishnu Sahasranam is influencing all areas of the mind. They did, this is a far out feature of modern world. Now they're trying to see the effect of Vishnu Sahasranam on the brain through MRI. So they take the MRI and somebody is chanting Vishnu Sahasranam and they say, everywhere in the brain some very nice activities is going on, and it purifies the brain. It's actually, it's very scientific. All the Vedas are very scientific, and even chanting just Om, or what to speak about stotras, they purify, even if you do it automatically, mechanically. Even if you do it without really conscious understanding of what you're chanting, still it has an effect. But nama apparatus are much more difficult. And actually, Srila Rupa Goswami in Sri Krishna Namastakam, he says this. Vachya vachikam, let's chant together. Vachyo vachakam ityudeti bhavato nama svarupa dvayam purvasmat parameva hanta karuna tatrapi janimahe yastasmin vihita parada nivaha prani samantad bhavet asyenedamupasya sopi sada nandam buddho majati. So very beautifully, this is the 6th verse of Namastakam, where Srila Rupa Goswami is glorifying the name, and he says, Vachya vachikam ityudeti bhavato nama svarupa dvayam. He says that Nam, Krishna Nam, has two forms. One form is Krishna himself, and another one is his name. He says that the name has the two forms. One form is Krishna. This is the form of the name. You understand the paradoxical way? He says, Vachya vachikam ityudeti bhavato nama svarupa dvayam. There are two forms of nama. One is Vachya, which is described or named, or Krishna, or in this case, Krishna's form, his murti. This is Vachya. This is something which is described. And Vachakam is the name which is describing this form or Krishna's name. And he says, Purvasmat parameva hanta karuna. He says, hanta. He just goes like this. Hanta. Oh my God. Purvasmat parameva hanta karuna tatrati janima. We know that the second one, Vachakam, is more merciful than the first one, Vachya. Because yastasmin vihita parata nivaha prani samantad bhavet. Even if you worship the Lord and if you do some aparadas, it's not good. But even if you worship the Lord and do some aparadas and you chant the holy name, then the holy name becomes the saving grace, becomes upasya. Becomes upaya. If you worship the Lord, then the holy name will take you and put you into this anandam buddhi. And you will sada always be in this sada anandam buddho majjati. You will be immersed in the ocean of bliss if you chant the holy name, even if you perform or commit some offenses against the first one, against the form of the Lord. So if we constantly worship the holy name, as the holy name becomes our upasya, the object of worship, then everything else is solved. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Radhanath Maharaj, he describes that he encountered one sadhu, and his object of worship, he would go to a solitary place here in Vrindavan. He would clean some little place in the earth, and he would do the aksharas of the name, Hare Krishna. He would write it's on the earth and would sit the whole day and worship this form of the Lord in the form of the aksharas. And then at the end of the day, he would again clean it and go back. So that's the real path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Worship of the deities is important, but only as much as it helps us to chant the holy name. It should not overshadow or take over the importance of the chanting of the holy name. And we're kind of more used to this ritualistic activity, and therefore it's easy. Chant the holy name is a little more difficult, but it's much more important. And that's why Srila Rupa Goswami, he glorifies this. I will not go further because, let's, this is another verse from Namastakam. Let's do it together. Jaya Namadheya Muni Vrindagehe Janaranjanaya Paramakshara Krite Tvamanadaradati Managudiritam Nikilograta Papatalim Vilumpasi. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he says that that Muni Muni is those people who are keeping Mauna Vrat. So this Muni, when they hear the holy name of the Lord, they start singing it very loudly. Even though they are Munis, they are not supposed to, they're supposed to, but they cannot contain themselves. Jaya Namadheya Muni Vrindagehe, Janaranjanaya Paramaksharakrite. You came in the form of Aksharas. You made yourself accessible to us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So easily accessible, even to make the form of the Lord, it's difficult. But you came in this most munificent form just to give the pleasure, Janaranjanaya, for ordinary people. The Munis, they become joyful and they start dancing and singing, but even ordinary people, when they chant the holy name, they feel bliss and they feel some satisfaction. And he says, Tvamanadarataphi manakudiritam, nikilogra tapa patalim vilumpasi. Even without adara, even without attention, if we chant the holy name once, Nikila ugra tapa patalim vilumpasi. You, O holy name, he says, Namadeya, you purify from all kinds of ugra tapa, all kinds of heavy sufferings. So, holy name is like this, but there is one important condition. You should not commit offenses. But how is it here, Rupa Goswami says, anadaratapi? Even if you pronounce the holy name without adar, without respect, what is this? Anyway, about this we will talk a little later. For now, we will finish the class and we'll ask for a couple of questions. We can answer the couple of questions.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, yesterday and today you covered about the topic of Shraddha. So I presume, and today also became more clear in the discussion, that Vishwanath Thakur is speaking about Shastri Shraddha.
Yes.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks in the article on Vaishnava, when he classifies the Vaishnavas based on the Bhagavatam perspective, Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama.
Mm-hmm.
So there he quotes and he says that those who are Kanishtadikaris, they have Laukik Shraddha or
Balatutpadi.
Shraddha. And they are not qualified for practicing Shuddha Bhakti. Only until one comes to the platform of Madhyamikari, then he has and he is qualified to practice Shuddha Bhakti. So I wanted to clarification on this. I wanted to call clarification on this, what it means.
Yeah, so in the beginning, when we just start practicing bhakti, we don't have firm Shastriya Shraddha. And our Shraddha, mostly, see, Shraddha means a consistent understanding of reality. Shastriya Shraddha gives consistent understanding of reality. In the beginning, we don't have consistent understanding of reality according to Shastra. We have fragmental understanding. Little bit we understand here, little bit we understand there, and the rest is filled up with either our speculations or most probably speculations of other people whom we hear and think that they know what they're talking about. We hear some lectures and this and that, and we create semi-shastric picture of reality, which is not really according to Shastra, but some elements may be there. So therefore it's Lokika. Why it is Lokika? It is because it's based on the opinion of other people, not on the opinion of acharyas, not on the opinion of guru. It's the picture which is created in the mind from our association. So only after we consistently hear and clarify all our doubts, we can form the very strong Shastriya Shraddha. And that's called Madhyamadikari. So in the beginning, we do believe in something, but we also have a lot of strange things, superficial things. Sometimes you hear something, recently I heard something which I never heard before, which I don't remember, it was so weird. I don't remember what was it. Somebody told me with a lot of conviction. I said, where did you hear this? Where did you read this, or where did you hear this? And usually the answer to this, I heard it in the kitchen or somewhere, in other respectable places where Harikatha is going on. Dormitory.
Is it necessary to analyze Anartha? Here I am criticizing the Vaishnavas and I am analyzing why. Maybe it's pride or envy. Will such an analyze help, or should I just pray?
No, analysis is only necessary to see something which we would not see without this analysis. Analysis means the detailed vision of something, and when we don't have this, when we don't hear this analysis, the vision usually is blurry. Analysis is needed to pay attention to some details which would be skipped of our attention, which we would miss without such analysis. So, analysis of aparadas are important because we will understand exactly what aparada means, and it will help us to avoid aparadas. But ultimately, of course, if we only analyze our aparadas and don't try to avoid them, then it's a kind of very strange devotional service. So we should not just analyze. Yes, analysis can make us very proud, no doubt about it. And then we should pray, and therefore in the beginning I gave this prayer of Narottam Das Thakur. I always pray to be able to overcome all these impediments which are there. And the main impediment is our, not even offenses, but offensive nature, which we have, which is being nourished by the culture we live in, unfortunately.
Well, one more question is that I appreciate the behavior of Vaishnavas. For example, someone gives the wrong philosophy, I appreciate it. He speaks incorrectly. But then I plunge into criticism. Do not evaluate incorrectly. But how can you not criticize? How can one understand that the Vaishnava is saying that has?
Therefore it is said that Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranati bhikcha bhajante maisham. Srila Rupa Goswami very carefully says that you should respect Vaishnava. If it's a neophyte Vaishnava, you should respect him from a distance in your mind. And if it is a Madhyamadikari Vaishnava who is engaged in active service, you should pay obeisances to him. But ultimately, you should only seek association of those people. Nidadi shunyam hridam ipsita sangalavya. You should only always be eager to get association of those people who are completely free from the tendency to criticize others. To be free from this tendency ourselves. So, there is a difference between knowing that somebody is saying something incorrectly and criticizing. To say that he's saying something incorrectly doesn't mean that we are criticizing him. or to notice, to distinguish. It's just our intelligence. We still may maintain respectful attitude, even though he speaks something which is not exactly correctly. We can be respectful. We should be respectful. It doesn't matter whether he's always correct or not. But this sort of analysis is necessary for us to understand whose association we should be seeking for all the time. Yes.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. I just wanted to understand about Anartha Nivritti. Is it the stage which Anartha Nivritti starts after we do Bhajan Kriya, or is it like a parallel?
No, it's parallel process. The moment we start Bhajana Kriya, the Anartha Nivritti starts. There is no doubt about it. It's not that we do Bhajana Kriya, then we stop Bhajana Kriya, and then our anarthas disappear. We continue Bhajana Kriya, and Bhajana Kriya means Bhajan. Bhajana Kriya means imitation of Bhajan, therefore it's called Bhajana Kriya. It's Kriya literally means purificatory ceremony. Like in yoga, it's very clear, like Kapalbhati Kriya, some purification things. So we're doing it not as a bhajan, because we are not really connected so intimately with Krishna, but it's Bhajana Kriya. It's just some formal similarity of Bhajana Kriya, which purifies our heart, and Anartha starts going away during this process. So they're very closely intertwined. But if we want to distinguish between the two, we still can do it. And in my humble opinion, the difference between the first stage of Bhajana Kriya, which is Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, and the stage of purification, of intense purification of anarthas, is when we consciously understand what anarthas are, when we become more conscious or more reflective. In the beginning, our bhajan or Bhajana Kriya, our practice of bhakti, is not so reflective. But at one point, because of hearing this and because of deepening our understanding and faith, we start noticing certain processes which are taking place within our heart. And that's where real Anartha Nivritti will take place.
Maharaj, you were talking about adara, so it's very important towards bhakti or shastras. How does one build, or should I say rebuild, this adara when it's broken because of wrong examples? How does one rebuild adara in a person?
Well, if it's broken by wrong examples, we should come into society. And the social pressure is very important. If we live in a society where respect is valued very much, and everyone is respectful, and either externally or internally or both, then naturally we try to adopt to this sort of environment and relearn this respectful behavior and respectful attitude towards others. So that's why the society of devotees is very important. And not only society of devotees is important, the society of devotees which is built on a proper foundation, because there are different society of devotees. Unfortunately, there are groups of devotees where aparada becomes a fashion. I don't want to name somebody specifically, but there is the whole publication, I think it's monthly publication, which is somehow or other, by some mistake, is called Back to Prabhupada, but in reality it's Vaishnava Ninda Monthly. So, where all kinds of juicy details are being described, with all the gusto and taste. So it becomes some sort of, the custom in certain sections of Vaishnava society, and we should be very careful about this. We should be in a society of devotees who are very respectful and very fearful of ninda.
So sometimes we see that it's not intentional or personal. Like sometimes some needs are not met, and that's why some devotees are angry or they commit offenses because some need is not met. Like if somebody is not fed well or somebody is not in the right health or frame of mind. So how do we?
As far as we should be very compassionate as far as the other people are concerned. We should not judge them too severely. We can understand the psychological nature. It happens. So it's anyway not our position to judge somebody. If he behaves, we just say, yeah, okay, no problem. So, but as far as ourselves are concerned, we should be still very careful. When we automatically or impulsively commit some apparatus because of our psychological state of mind or something, it basically means that we're still slaves of our impulses of the mind. The beauty of Vaishnava practice is that it makes one, it gives one from the very beginning the intelligence by which we can discriminate this, I should do this, I should not do, and also gives at least some little freedom to avoid something which is wrong. So we should not justify our actions, even if we did something driven by some impetus. We should not justify ourselves so easily by explaining it out. We should still be remorseful. But as far as others are concerned, we should not be judgmental. Yes, they may have their reasons to behave the way they behave, and who am I to judge them? Okay. Okay.
You continue, it will come.
Okay. Maharajji, my question is that we see in temple also sometimes brahmacharis face so much of challenges. So like we've been associated with the movement for more than almost it's going to be 2 decades now. So I find that even the brahmacharis have so much challenge in the temples, and sometimes it's again minor issues, could be something related to personal issues like personal needs are not being properly met, or one person is being favored more than the other by the temple president, or so many things. So what I feel is for them it becomes even the more difficult also. They cannot even express themselves very explicitly with the fear of aparadha, and as they keep suffering from within, they also lose a lot of stimulus to chant very enthusiastically. I've seen a lot. So just out of inquisitiveness, wanting to know how can this issue be solved, because some people are very junior and they do ask to consult us. So how do we answer them?
If we want to progress in our path of bhakti, one extremely important condition is that we have to have somebody with whom we can confide, and we can admit our weaknesses, and we can get advice. And this person, obviously, he should not be judging us. He should be kind, compassionate, and very confidential. So if this condition is fulfilled, then because everyone, not only brahmacharis, everyone has some problems.
Right, Maharaj.
Everyone has some internal problems which sometimes manifest externally also. Sometimes it's only internal problems. Everyone has problems. And if the society of devotees is very, like Srila Prabhupada said, very important thing. He said that the whole Varnashrama society was destroyed because of its rigidity. Because the rules of Varnashrama were applied in a very rigid way, the whole society was destroyed. Somebody committed little deviation from the path and he's already outcast. He's not a Brahman anymore. He has to commit suicide or become a Muslim or be converted. Like this ridiculous stories of somebody sprinkled you with, Muslims sprinkled you with some water from the pot, already you are Muslims. It's ridiculous. The whole thing was destroyed because of this strictness. And sometimes the same kind of external strictness comes to our Vaishnava society.
Because in the continuation of the same question, Rajji, you said that we can't be happy if we think of our petty desires. But unfortunately, every human being's life revolves around those 1,500 people we meet. And those petty desires keep troubling us. That is the biggest challenge we face while chanting. So the only way I think we can get over it is when we have a higher cause, when we are thinking, no, it is the Krishna conscious movement I'm committed to and I shouldn't think of petty things. But to identify myself with that cause internally is not a very easy thing. It can't happen in a day. So
no, but if you come with your petty desires to somebody whom you trust and whom you have confidence of and say, I have these petty desires, I want to be very honest to you, the desires become weaker. The desires are only as bad as they are strong and they push us in the wrong direction or disturb us. But how to make the desires weaker? It's very simple. Just admit these desires. Just speak loudly. Just confess in these desires. Yes, I have these desires. And immediately the desires lose the power over you. So there's nothing wrong with desires. As Srila Prabhupada says, there is nothing astonishing in having this, because we have been in contact with all these energies for too long. So naturally we have these disturbances in the mind. How to make them weaker? To make them weaker, we can just admit very honestly, I have these disturbances. And and somebody who is more senior to you, he will say, okay, fine. You are not this disturbance. You are spirit soul. So don't take it too seriously. So, and you're right. Identification with the highest goal is a very difficult thing to achieve. But in the beginning, we should know how to deal properly with these petty desires. And they're not so. Only when we pay too much attention to these petty desires, they become a problem. If we just say, okay, petty desires, bye-bye petty desires, no problem, So it's not so difficult. Okay, thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna. So I'll see you tonight.